Tim, Andrew, Tim, and Andrew. Tim, Andrew, Tim, and Andrew. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you on our very special Christmas stream.
What's up, guys?
I think, this is the week that we're going to discover the true meaning of Mjolnir or something, right? Yeah.
Tis the reason for the season?
Tim just wants to get hammered. This is how we roll. So yeah. Hi, everybody. Mark is continuing some exciting biz dev type things, and so Andrew and Tim are going to give you a wonderful Merry Mjolnir stream.
Merry Mjolnirness.
We wish you a Mjolnir Christmas. We wish you a Mjolnir Christmas.
A festive meow-meow-ness.
Alright, so, we'll do, as usual, we'll do the Q&A stuff at the end. It's been an exciting week for reasons that will become apparent in the new year. Not quite ready to announce things yet on the CSE front, but development of the game continues apace while all of these things are going on. So, our top 10-ish. So
I feel like we are close enough to 20 more often than not that we should maybe just come up with a new name.
All right, yeah, Sweet 16. So things people are working on.
Ish.
Yeah, ish. Number one. So infrastructure-wise, something going on called entity component templates. So we built out the scenario, our first scenario, which was just pretty much a straight deathmatch. And as we started building out more complicated scenario types, we recognized the need to have sort of a more flexible scripting system. And that was just like define the data, drop it in, like avoid hard-coded things, make things super flexible. We had gone a very, very long time with just everything is player-driven, and scenarios just required us to be authoring a little more like game content than we had been. So what we ended up with on this design was something called entity component templates, and it's pretty much like, all right, here's a template for, say, a spawn point entity, and it has this inner radius and this outer radius, and uses this model, and it's here, and define that, attach other components to it, and if you've used the Unity editor, it looks a lot like that. So it's it lets us do authoring of sort of scripted content a lot better. This doesn't mean that we're going down the path of writing a billion interactive quests or anything like that, but just for scenarios.
I mean, it's explicitly so that we don't have to, right?
Right. It's sort of the framework for that, and it's like, all right, we have this definition for something, and then there's another definition that inherits it and overrides it. So this spawn point is like the default spawn point, but with this one parameter changed, and it's the Unity editor, basically.
I mean, we've talked about it before.
So Bull's been doing a lot of work on that.
Yeah, we've talked about it before a little bit in terms of, like, we had this really cool entity component model that we've been building on and building on and building on, and, like, Ben hasn't really gotten to play with that.
Right.
And this is how we get Ben into it.
Yeah, there was not a good way for us internally to author those, like, in the database, as opposed to just they're created through the actions of players.
Right.
So having a nice editor interface for that is pretty sweet, and facilitates the new scenario types that we expect to be bringing bringing online really, really soon, more than deathmatch stuff. And as part of that, sort of phase 2 is Caleb has been using it to build components to use in new scenario types. So Bull and Caleb and a little bit of me are doing that. So.
I think I should take this next one.
I think you should skip over that one and go straight to number 3, and then I'll come back.
The text here is Andrew will explain by the seat of his pants on the stream.
Yeah, sorry, I was writing the code instead of the description. Tim, Andrew, Tim, and Andrew.
So next one is floating combat text. Dave's completed his first pass on the system this week, hooking it up to some basic damage and healing flyouts. Purposes of the system is to improve combat readability so players not only tell better what's happening, but also help us test more efficiently. It's 3D UI, it's floating combat text.
Yeah. Okay, so it's more than just floating combat text.
Right.
Because, as we've said, hey, we're building our entire UI out of web pages. These are actually like little divs within a web page that gets attached to your character. So, very, very first thing was spewing out numbers. But really these are fragments of web pages. So spitting arbitrary HTML attached to a guy's elbow.
Right.
That's a thing we can do now.
Yeah. So like floating combat text is like version 1 of what we can do with it. But
yeah.
the goal here was emitting UI into the world,
and that's got a lot of cool things that happen because of that. In the initial thing, our main goal is to just super improve combat readability. We still want to go with as minimal a UI as possible, but for debuggability right now, having that visual text confirmation of, no, this is this thing that has happened to you, just printing that right across the guy as it's happening. It's made it a lot easier to be absolutely sure that the system is working right, whereas, something happened and there are particles, but what actually happened?
Right. Like, for a long time, we had the debug nameplates, which Andrew used when he was working on the animation system, which would, hijack your nameplate so that we could put animation data attached to every single character. And so we've had this need of ways of just putting UI in the world, and so we've sort of codified that into a more usable system so that engineers and players can do cool stuff with it. So that, again, it's more than just combat text, but that's sort of our first pass at it so that you guys get something out of it and we get something out of it.
Yeah, once we get it, so in the short term, I would say you should expect to see a lot more words and numbers popping up all over the place. That is more... You can't stop. It's addictive. Yeah, the TNA stream.
This is the grown-up stream.
TNA stream is best stream.
I think it dances, right? I thought it danced. I don't know. Is it on my forehead? All right, that's not distracting. Number 4.
I think we have to wait. I can't talk over that.
This is my life now.
It keeps going.
You guys are watching this for 30 minutes, so...
It stops. I swear it stops.
It used to stop.
Okay, so, very important question. I just want to ask everyone who's, a fan
Still
of the
has
Rudolph.
eardrums.
Yeah. In the Rudolph Christmas special, in your opinion, were they using dentistry as kind of a, coded way of expressing another form of nonconformity that you really couldn't express publicly in that era in Hollywood? I think they were. Dentistry does not mean dentistry. There are so many layers to that Christmas special. So anyway, now we're going back to number 2.
Oh, okay.
Entity queries. So
Andrew's had enough time to plan out what he's going to say now.
Yeah. This is another thing that's been kind of driven by scenario work, but it's been out there on the back burner for a long time. A whole lot of things like how many players are logged into this zone, how many Tuatha players are in this zone. All of that worked by, for every entity in the zone, are you a player? Are you a Tuatha? Then add one to the counter and go over every single thing.
Every time somebody touches them, they just threw up in their mouth.
And that was a beautiful, quick way to get that data in, but scenarios stretch that to the limit because a lot of the scripting and things on scenarios required us to do more, required a lot more of those queries. So what I built out this week was, sort of taking all those queries and making them incrementally updatable, so that, as every time a new Tuatha player logs in, we add to the set of Tuatha players, and then we can just say how many people are in that set rather than scan everything and see if they match. So it's really just sort of database indexing for the live set of entities. There's a couple of really, really exciting things there on the tech side just because things are, just because, like, Mark's making faces at me. I can't think.
Do you want us to make room?
No, I'm just going to come in and say hi and go, hi, I'm going to try to get back in time for Q&A, but as you can tell by headphones and the phone in my pocket, I'm on calls for the next hour, but I'll try to jump in. Love the outfits. That's it. Hi again.
Yeah, so, but now that Mark's not making faces, I can actually talk about multi-threaded code. Oh, God.
You can only page in multi-threading or Mark's face at any given time.
Mark's face is like a giant mutex. Stops all the threads. So because we run this complicated thing on the server where like all the entities get updated in parallel, and it's sort of an optimistic multi-version concurrency control with rollback and conflict resolution. So when 32 threads can all be adding and removing and changing entities, constantly updating queries in real time, it needed a certain clever framework, and that's what I did this week in the small amount of time that I had to worry about programming alongside, again, some other stuff.
So, random tech question for Andrew. While we can talk about code he wrote earlier today while we're on stream. I saw we had character ID lookups was like one of the initial implementations, right?
Right, yeah. So
are we going to get like by name lookups out of that too?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually just it's a pluggable system. So you can just say, here is a query object, add this query object to the world state, and then every entity will just update will update its answer to that whatever set of queries are registered. So it's totally pluggable and dynamic, and a lot of things like there's a fixed character ID for this is the ID of the character, which is separate from the entity ID of the object running around in the world. So every time we would say, hey, find this character and remove something from his inventory, we'd have to search every entity to see, are you this character? And now we just do that directly.
Right, and the same thing applies, like, if we had, like, a slash command that would, like, set someone on fire by name, and you wanted to, like, slash ignite Rob.
Oh, I see where this is going.
If you wanted to slash ignite Rob, we would literally go across to every single building and every single projectile and every single player on the server and check to see if its name was Rob.
Yeah, so we could have a query that's just, are you named Rob or not?
Yeah. Yep.
So
good.
Yeah, it'd be much more efficient to set Rob on fire, as distinct from the things that are not Rob.
So Rob immolation is now orders of magnitude more performant.
And that's one of those just things you have to deal with to hit the scalability. But yeah, so that happened.
Number four. Ability buttons. Matt handed off the next update of the ability buttons for AJ to hook up. This includes preparation, recovery, unusable, and disruption states. AJ's hooked them up on his branch, and we'll have a GIF going out with the...
the GIF they look pretty sweet. They convey a lot more information. this is sort of ability buttons 2.0. 3.0 is going to be configurable hotbars. Well, unless we do something in between then. But the path to having the buttons themselves convey a lot more information is, well on its way.
And I don't think that's in here, but Matt was talking earlier about some of the stuff he's been working on with George has gotten us much closer to modifier keys and stuff like that on keylines too. So that's exciting.
I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm always excited.
Number 5.
Yeah, that one.
Number 5, Patcher design updates. The Patcher is getting some design updates. AJ wrapped up his work on the Warbands UI, and while that's going through the review, he took on making the Patcher all nice and sexy, having an actual list of characters broken down by server, so it's a lot simpler and clearer to, instead of just having to pick a server and then pick a pop-up. This is your guy, and it's graphical and dynamic and pretty.
This one was amusing because Andrew and I were looking over the list before the stream, and the notes are just like, AJ updated the Patcher.
I was like, oh.
What
does it look
what's
like?
a Patcher update look like? So, just in the middle of nowhere, we went over and ambushed AJ to see what he was working on.
JB realized you were missing the dried out wreath. Don't touch it, it just crumbles now. There we go.
Yes,
I
Tyler.
kind of wanted to burst into
we
flames.
were going to put
I'm
it
not going to lie.
over your head. We thought that would be better, but like I said, it's kind of falling apart.
That's like a Norwegian Colombian necktie or something.
Right. That's exactly what I
wait, no,
was going for.
The Colombian necktie is where they cut your throat open and pull your tongue
tire.
out. What's the South African
tire?
tire? Yeah.
Let's not go in this direction. We're trying to stay happy here.
That ship has sailed.
Mjolnir Christmas to you too, Tyler. Prepare to get hammered.
Bring us some piggy hammers now. Bring us some piggy hammers. Right. So cool patch update. It's got lots of stuff for character select and server select, and I think there might be some updates on the way we convey information about patching. And we've also been talking about some more info there, just giving you guys better feedback on what the patcher is doing. So some of that happens now, and some of that happens later.
Yeah. I'm just gonna take the next one. There's some new server stability fixes. This is something I had started, and then I got, basically my time became needed for something else, and I handed it off to Colin.
Colin made the mistake of finishing a task because Andrew needed somebody to take something over for it.
Yeah. But he's dragged that across the last mile, and I think a final review is waiting for me when I get back to my desk. But what happened...
We're running out of couch space.
Hey, Tyler,
yeah.
Can we say which backer sent this to us?
We have no
We don't
idea.
know.
So we actually, not just we may not, but we cannot.
Yeah, we've asked, and we don't know who it came from. We don't even know if it was a backer.
A giant wreath.
It could be from the building management.
So anyway, we have a super fancy network encoding model. It's just, you need to update all those players over the network. It's going to take a lot of math, and there's a lot of, all right, predict exactly what the client has, figure out a minimal delta off of that, and as we started to have more and more people pushing through that, it's become a perennial problem of, hey, there's a bug, and when I originally wrote it, it was pretty, using that system had an attitude of get good, noob, I would say was the principal design there, and that has obviously, and so, if someone had a bug in their network code, it would be very, very hard to tell and might only manifest itself, when the entity sent, 5 entities later, you send something and it accidentally decodes as a watermelon instead of a human or something.
Yeah, I was saying, when Andrew wrote that, if there was a bug in it, he would come over and slap me or Dave on the head.
So there's a lot more code in there now to, there's a framework there to actually identify and detect bugs at the point where they happen and give really, really good feedback. So that should be something that, people are still going to make bugs, but it's going to be a lot easier to, immediately know where the mistake was made and, recover gracefully from it. And it won't, if one entity is bad, it won't completely destroy other entities that are being sent over the network, and we won't lose a lot of time scratching our heads about it. So that is a positive step.
And everybody's clients won't crash simultaneously; they'll just bitch at you.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to have the kind of bugs where one bug on how we send an entity just causes all clients to crash simultaneously. That should be much harder to happen. So yeah, that'll be cool. Looking forward to reviewing that code. Code reviews are my favorite.
Andrew loves code reviews. If you guys want to get Andrew a Christmas present, just write some code, C++, he likes C++, send it to Andrew and he'll review it for you and have the best holiday.
Yeah, I have George is doing, and Dave, and a few other people have been doing such a great job on the client lately that someone sent me a code review in C++, and it took me a minute. It's like, what is this weird pointer thing? I forgot. I've been working so deep on the server all the time lately. So, yeah. Server.
Scoreboard and permissions. Christina's making solid progress on 2 different projects this week. The first is data support for a new scenario scoreboard we're working on to get more insight and details into what happened in a round. The second item is upgrading spawn points to use the new permissible system we were talking about last time. The TLDR on that is forever ago, JB built a really cool permission system for guilds and groups and warbands and all that jazz, and she sort of brought it into use into other stuff like buildings and plots and stuff like that. And so now we're using it on even more stuff, which is stuff like spawn points, so that you can have permissions on who and when and why and where people can spawn. So that's the permission stuff. The scoreboard stuff is we're just getting more data into the end of round on scenarios. I think we've got a couple different versions of this planned. I'm not sure exactly what we're getting with this, but like end goal is, leaderboards with who got the most kills or who got the most points, or, and again, I don't know which version we're on right now, so we may not be getting that this time around, but the scoreboards are getting cooler.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, everything on this list is work in progress this week from tech. Like, we have...
You got entity queries in.
No, it's not actually committed. It's gone into review, and there's probably a few more tweaks on that. So it's been I'm really, really happy with the amount of stuff that has gotten done this week, and yet, I think we've
5 p.m. commit party. We can do it.
Yeah, we've all kind of had this thing of, okay, so we are getting ready to go into Christmas. Don't commit it at 5 o'clock on a Friday before a week-long holiday. So January 2nd, first day back at full operation. The build's going to be it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the most amazing build ever that will involve...
Michael Bay is going to be so jealous of our build.
20 major features immediately committed, and absolutely no new bugs. I promise.
I'm making no such promises.
How long has George been working on that input refactor?
Oh.
How big is that?
Well, the chain that started the input refactor.
Right.
Lots of cool stuff is going there.
Yeah.
That's the.
I just hope. I hope.
That started with Reload UI, right?
Yes.
That's right. It started with one little thing.
That was like the big client stability push, and there was this one little thread that was left hanging, and that sumbitch got unraveled.
All right. So, did we cover number 8?
No, we haven't hit 8 yet.
Okay. So, Cross has been charging ahead. Speaking of Mjolnir Christmas,
Blue hammers. Where's my hammers?
Yeah, electrifying. It's electrifying. Much Fun fact, my Christmas tree at home draws 1.2 kilowatts.
Andrew was telling me about like the wiring setup because he's
Yeah.
super conscientious about like which breakers and shit stuff goes on.
Well, if I put the entire Christmas tree on one circuit breaker, it doesn't play nice. So, like, I've got the top half in one outlet, the bottom half in another outlet, and just like
there's
smell
rolling
that nice
brownouts when he turns
Yeah.
his tree on.
The TV and the vacuum cleaner cannot go on either of the same breakers as either section of the Christmas tree, because some people it's like the smell of eggnog or pine or fake pine, I
I'll
guess.
say plastic.
For me, it's not Christmas until I smell burnt insulation.
Andrew's actually disappointed if he doesn't have to put the glasses on to look at his tree.
Yeah. So I feel bad. There was a backer who sent me these glasses a long time ago, and unfortunately, it was so long ago I don't remember who it was.
So tell us on stream, and
Yes.
you can shame Andrew.
And this full. They were part of a hat and glasses
you got it with
combo
the hat, right?
There was like meant to go full bro, but I felt like it brought out the glow of Santa's lightsaber really on his unicorn.
Next. Alright, dynamic combat music, number 9. Following up last week's work on generalized combat sounds, DB has begun working on how that work informs his goals for dynamic combat music. Right now he's working on setting up a parameter based on intensity of combat around the player, and he's writing up some rough combat music that can hook into these new parameters. So he's just basically building a system so that he can control the music to sort of meet the intensity of a battle, and he's just getting a feel for all of that and then roughing in some sound while he gets a feel for the system.
But yeah, combat music coming. Already being made in small portions.
Yeah, we've already got some in there, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm looking at Tyler. He's behind the camera.
He kind of needs some engineering support to fully realize this.
Okay.
So
Because I know
he's
just
doing
like
what he
running
can.
around when there's fights and stuff, you get music.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's ambient music that plays, but an actual combat system that, is picking up hooks out of like how many of your allies are dying around you to
Can people actually hear Tyler, or is this just
They should
like
be able to.
a faint mumble in the
Probably
distance?
not.
Yeah, Socrates is yelling at him.
Can I not answer a question?
That's how we know Tyler's in earshot as Sacrix starts yelling.
I'm not actually sure that Sacrix yelling means anything other than Sacrix is here. We love you. We love you, Sacrix.
We love killing you.
Oh god, he is so much fun in this playtime.
Yeah, it's
Hilarious.
Yeah, we finally got we got
to hear
Sacrix
him,
on Discord.
We got to hear
Yeah.
his voice.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite was "Get wrecked, son."
That's what someone just typed.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Focus
You're
item
not the boss of
animations.
me.
All the one hand focus. You're holding your spell book or your charm or whatever. That boosts your magic power. Scott is finishing that up, and that's motion, running around with the focus, so you don't just take your spell book and smash it through your face, or stuff like that. Jump, flinch, deflect, death. Also just I'm holding it and casting. Scott's been doing all of that. So
Deflect animations. Sandra finished updating the deflect animations to be faster and visually different enough from the flinches. She's now moved on to small end of the year task to add flinches and deaths to the 3 travel stance animations. Right now you pop into a combat stance before you flinch or death. One of the things we talked about was it was difficult to discern the difference between a flinch and a deflect. And so they've been working on making it so that they're more distinguishable so that you can just visually read that from combat. So this is a continuation of that process.
And that's kind of the two-part thing of, okay, we've added the text so that we can clearly just unambiguously read this was a flinch, this was a deflect, and then look at the and be able to say, all right, are we looking at the right animation for what happened in the combat system?
Right.
So those go hand in hand, and having an explicit, printed on the screen, this is what's happening, will make it will help us, identify, hey, different things are happening, but it looks the same. Was this, what did this really convey what was actually happening?
Right.
So again, the ideal is that okay, we see now, hey, I didn't realize that this was two different things, and it's not clear to me that there was a difference until I see the text. Okay, well, we should do more to make those animations distinct. Whereas before it was just like, I'm just seeing animations. I guess like
stuff's happening.
Deflinch happened, something. So I look forward to cranking back down the text, but it'll help us know when these things need to be distinguished better in the short term.
Arthurian heavy armor variations. Michelle completed a pass on both arm and leg heavy armor variations these week. These will hand it off to John in the coming weeks to work on. We talked about this before, where we're doing some sort of cosmetic work over our existing models for for a bunch of the armor we already had, which is mostly like normal work, so that we can get more suits of armor out of the existing assets we've got without spending the whole time to build whole new models for them.
So number 13, something near and dear to my heart, wasteland terrain mods. There's a new scenario map coming, which uses a bunch of new assets that Dion has made. Grass, weeds, dead trees, all that good stuff with LODs and collision and all the work that goes along with that, to capture that feel of a blighted landscape in which too much magic has laid waste to the world. That's going to be our new map that facilitates a certain type of scenario gameplay, but the terrain mod it's this cool system where it's just setting up parameters of, all right, this how it breaks down into different areas and types like that, so we can just stamp out infinite amounts of wasteland, and then just, all right, wasteland is here, lush forest is here, so it's
a wasteland is you.
Making terrain mods is our scripted procedural system of taking art assets and spewing them everywhere.
I'm both pleased and disappointed you dodged the robust group of dead branches phrase.
I don't think dead branches are very robust. Well, the group is robust.
Place of Power. This next map will also utilize the Place of Power model we previously created. This week Tyler spent some time updating the model and breaking it up for import on the map. This included
this model was so big that you wanted parts of it off it, that you'd be right up on it, and still parts of it were so far away from you that we needed to LOD them. So breaking up into multiple models so we can just crank down the LOD on parts of it that are way far in the distance. So it is an epic.
Ultimately, I'd like to do bigger than this at some point.
Epic and piece of geometry there.
We had talked about last week, we were worried it was too big to fit into the map, and so we were going to work on making a smaller piece of the art that wasn't just the big art shrunk down, so that it would have its sort of own distinct look. And then I talked to Tyler earlier, and it fit well into the map that we're making, so instead of working on a second Place of Power, we just got to iterate on the current Place of Power and make it sexier.
Yeah, and if you want to see some of that, Tyler did a stream this week, so go into our Twitch archives, or
it'll be on the email. Looks like
YouTube.
There's a spot for a link on the
email. You can see Tyler working on that.
At the end of the stream, I throw, like Andrew said, I throw a couple of mobs just on there so people can see, oh, this area is a grassland with rocks and mods and stuff.
Right. It's also linked in the stream schedule.
Right.
Yeah, many ways to find it.
Armor variations. Based on some of Michelle's concept of a chess piece, John completed a modeling pass on all the pieces of the Arthurian heavy armor because he's fast. He completed a quick material pass as well, and to see how well the surface details hold up. These results are already informing what we want to do for the future of item creation, and the end goal is more variation but with less dev time. So more content, less time for us. Everybody's happy.
Yep. Number 16, more scenario stuff. So James finished off CSS styling for the design update to the patcher, and then has rolled into the scenario UI for wins and defeats and things like that. You know, if you've played in one of the scenarios, it was some very obvious like Dev UI
Best
type
programmer
stuff.
art.
Literally,
Yeah,
what we
it
call
is. It was straight out of GeoCities, which, you know, is cool because anyone who knows nothing about graphic design can still be like, H1, you win, /H1. And, you know, that's their HTML heading right there. Full GeoCities. But you know, James has been doing real design on that. You know, we worked out like, okay, these are the bits of information we want to convey on win and loss and stats, and you know, make places for them and all of that. And you know, so there was also some planning on what's the final set of information we want to convey, and then give it a way to convey it nicely. So that's what Grandmaster Ku has been doing.
And that's the top 16.
That's 10.
We'll put a picture of that in the updated text.
Okay, so MJ has threatened that he's going to come out and join us, but I don't,
He said he was going to try.
yeah,
So
he may still be on his.
I heard a door open.
He may still be
I
on
think
his
that's
call.
just somebody going,
Yeah.
for now, you've got Tim and Andrew. We're both programmer tech guys. So.
And
So.
Tyler, do you just want to come over here, or do you want to be the peanut gallery?
Oh, I like the peanut gallery. I was over here because I had a headache. Lying down.
So if you guys have questions tech related, Andrew and I, we got your backs.
Yeah, we got 2 programmers here, so if you've got programming related questions.
I'll start with one because I heard it asked a couple of times. You want to hit on current system requirements for the client?
Oh, good call. People have asked about that recently.
No, I don't.
Okay.
We should do a separate video.
Yeah,
maybe.
we should. Yeah, we have not been investing a lot of work in you know, the scalability up and down. So we will need to do a pass on. I want to do a pass on that, and then talk about requirements. Then,
Okay.
you know, there's certain tweakable things of, hey, you know, at what range do things start LODing that are just okay? Yeah, that is a knob that we can turn that will like vastly affect the system requirements. So you know, right now it's like, well, it drops to half the number of polys at this distance. Well, you know, what does that mean for our performance? We can change the distance and change the performance, and we need to spend time on that up and down scalability. We've been doing a lot of work on, you know, ironing out stalls, hitches, gain rev, anything that could make the client block and not spit out the next frame on time. But in terms of just the base number of polys per frame, we've not been focusing a lot on that. So we will need to do a big part of that. Kind of our our next major milestone is pretty much targeted towards a big push on scalability. So that's you know, we've been working on sort of scenario and gameplay features for this milestone. Next milestone is going to be scalability, and that's the time when we expect to let in substantially more people to some of the scenario tests.
Pachamos asks, what has been the most challenging piece of coding you've done so far?
The single most challenging. I think for me, is this me personally? I don't,
It's for either or both of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with probably the network and packet system. You know, we've got the server that's continuously spewing, here's the network states of all these entities, and the client is receiving them, and the client is, you know, potentially some of them are dropped, some of them are out of order, but then the server needs to reconstruct exactly what the client has and has not received and put together a version of that world state so it can figure out, okay, what deltas does the client need? Because you don't want to just completely resend a player every time. You only want to send the parts that have changed, but you don't know, so you need to know, well, changed relative to what, because the client may or may not have actually received the last update. So making that work seamlessly, I think that was probably the single hardest thing that I've had to do as part of this, and, fortunately that got done back in 2013, but...
I mean, for me, like... I can't think of a single thing that was far and away more technically challenging than anything else, but like rehabilitation, going through that and trying to build a system that would serve Ben's needs and be scalable and flexible and meet all of these requirements that we hadn't even laid out yet was a tricky bit of code and code design.
Yeah. Some other kind of high points. I'm going to give a big shout out to Dave on this. He had a lot of the stuff that he's done in terms of how characters get quickly assembled. Of all right, here's a guy and this is his gear and this is his customization, and spewing that all into, okay, it's just one texture and it's just one mesh that takes all of that into account, so we can draw it super quickly. That was a hard problem. Also, some of the Cross has authored all these particle systems that use all these sprites, but dynamically crunching that down into subsections of textures and things like that. Dave did some sexy stuff on that.
Yeah, you guys were talking earlier, and I heard something about shrinking some of our stuff by 75%. So that sounded cool.
Yeah. I am super happy about the entity component templates, and there's nothing there that's super clever or hard, but it's one of those things that when you see all the pieces just snap together, it's so satisfying as a programmer.
The stuff that Bull was working on with data inheritance is pretty cool. I've worked at a couple of different places where getting data inheritance right is always awkward and challenging.
Yeah,
and,
sometimes you'll have these we'll have these things where this was really hard, but it shouldn't have been. It turned out to be a really challenging bit of code for Matt to improve projectile prediction. And that's, it wasn't necessarily there was any, brilliance in there. It was just find every I that can possibly need to be dotted and T to be crossed, and, just the grinding through. And it's and that's hard because, hey, you missed this one thing. Okay, that's a problem. But at the same time, it's not, it doesn't get the marquee stuff,
Well, yeah.
So how are you going to define hard?
Yeah. I mean, particular to that, there's all these places where we can lose data and lose precision on the projectile prediction, such that even if the logic between the server and the client did the exact right thing, you've got to make sure that the integrity of your data makes it all the way through, right?
You have the right algorithm, but are you running it on the exact same data on both sides? And it's that's in theory a simple problem, but it was a really hard problem. But
right.
He did a sexy job on it. So
yeah, there are problems. There are tech problems who the solution to the problem is incredibly complex, and the design of the thing is where the challenge lies. And there's other times where the way in which the user needs to consume them, or the unknowns, mean that a problem becomes more challenging than just the parts.
Yeah, and some of the things that people are going to love the most aren't sexy engineering. Hey, this combat button flashes in this way to indicate this thing. That's not massive engineering, but it makes a huge difference to people.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, how much time have we spent making it easier for Ben to enter data, basically like classic text manipulation, so that his thoughts and ideas and designs could come through as purely as possible. You know, and there's no bit packing happening there, or no clever like multi-threading or anything. It's we're doing some text manipulation so that
it's a lot more than text.
Well, I mean, just like some of the stuff that Rob did in terms of like aliasing and shorthand in the XML itself. That stuff was literally just text manipulation, like aliasing and parsing and stuff like that. That was a huge boon to Ben to be able to communicate into gameplay his ideas and designs.
Yeah. So I don't know. We've gone way too long on this question. What's
you
question
guys get
number
one
2?
question.
Epic question, Pachamos. Sakurix asks, Andrew, how do you feel this year has been? Give us a rundown. Are there plans for going ahead on timescale till live once hitting beta?
I am definitely not going to answer that last part. It has, I think it has been a challenging year with some growing pains of the studio. Opening up the Seattle office, you know, we have some really, really great people there, but we, you know, had to learn to work well as a distributed team, and part of that has just involved putting, you know, putting people on streams to each other more, putting people on planes more. All of that is, you know, but I feel like we are starting to work really, really well as a collective team now. Like the biggest challenges that I think we faced in 2017 were more on the growth as an organization rather than actual software development, and I think we're coming out of this year so much better on those things than we were a year ago.
Right, methodologies for tasking and planning and how we organize like what the team is working on and staging all of that. We've iterated that several times, and we're still not there, but we are miles ahead of where we were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and again, I think there will be some interesting things, exciting things to say early in the new year on that. But yeah.
Odilvik asks, can we have a button to do a window-in-window sports-style action replay of the last 5 to 10 seconds of combat action, perhaps also saving it off as a clip file that can be shared and watched in the client from any angle?
I'm not going to say no.
Doesn't NVIDIA already have a thing built in that does that?
Yeah, but so it's not just like record the video. It's record the events,
right,
turn back time, replay them from another angle.
Right.
So I mentioned I mentioned some things about network states. The network states are this like system of immutable data. It's kind of a persistent data structure if you're an algorithms guy. So, you know, we sort of are able to say, this is the network state of the world here, and this is the network state of the world here, and like they'll share all the parts of each of those two states that didn't change, and so we have this nice sequential list of things. And in terms of what comes in over the network, it's really, really cheap to keep that record. Rewinding then kind of off of that, the client is just running a world continuously forward and accepting that series of network states as input to it to adjust its predictions back onto course. So recording the network states or just keeping around the network states and then rewinding the world might take a little bit of, rewinding the world is harder than having the snapshot. So it would be really, really easy to record everything and play it forward from when you first logged in. It's
so starting at an arbitrary time between when you logged in and now.
Yeah, that's it. Like, it would probably be a fairly big hitch to scroll time backwards, but then playing time forwards from there would be fairly cheap. But that is something that would love to build as just like our debug tool.
Yeah. We've talked about this a lot in terms of like the potential for something like this, both for us and for you guys. But it's certainly on our like, would be cool if, but not making it onto any milestones right now.
Yeah. I would love to, sportscaster style coverage of a Saturday Night Siege with a replay.
Right.
We're running a little low on time, so I'm going to just keep it to one question per person unless we hit the end of them, and then I'll go back.
Tyler, put your hand down.
Mark wanted me to grab him for a quick end of the wrap-up when you guys are wrapping up.
Okay.
Okay, so Mark will jump on at the end of the stream. Maybe he can help open the presents.
Yeah.
So Grintar on YouTube chat asks, are you excited for Ryzen 2 in February?
Yes. Programmers love cores. Is known.
You should get me one of those, Tyler.
Odilvik asks, will player mass affect structures? I.e., might 20 players running across a weakened structure cause it to collapse?
I don't think so. That's going to be in the realm of a little more, like I don't expect us to get to the level of absolutely real time up to the millisecond loads on structures. It's more of a, these changes have happened, batch that off, rerun it, and we get it back, and that'll be 100 milliseconds later or something like that. So that level of dynamicness of people are running across it non-destructively isn't going to be a thing that we're going to try and attempt.
One thing we might be able to do though is we call it the shock system, which is like it's how we execute fall damage. There could be a chance for like you jump off the roof onto a balcony, and an event that causes damage could damage the balcony enough such that it breaks.
Right, but that's in a case where like actual damage occurs, like that
Right.
kind of just continuous passive guys running around,
Right.
no major events happening to trigger that. Like we can't do that in real time, and it, maybe in another 5 years there'll be enough hardware that's fast enough. Maybe Ryzen 9, we'll see, but I don't think we're gonna get there for this game.
Sakurix gives a shout out to Brittany. Mia Tullis asks, during rehabilitation, it was said that in the end it might potentially speed up creating classes. Do you have any update on that?
I think the first classes that we've built out with abilities have been harder, and every class after that is substantially easier.
Yeah,
So-
there is a learning curve on there, and Ben continues to learn and continues to get more knowledgeable about the tools and all of that. So, will it be faster than creating classes before rehabilitation? I don't know, but it will. The next classes we create will certainly be faster than the last classes we created.
Ben's article in the newsletter that goes out kind of talks to some of this.
Yeah.
Ben's article in the newsletter talks about that somewhat, if you couldn't hear Tyler. All right, so I've got, it looks like there aren't that many questions, so I'm going to go back and ask some more of Sacrix's.
You want to grab Mark for his wrap-up?
Yeah, let's grab Mark.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see. Where was it? Sacrix asks, what did you mean on your past stream, Andrew, by things are happening in Seattle on new hires question regarding animators and studios collapsing?
I have nothing to announce at this time, other than you might have seen if you follow the game industry, there were some people who got laid off, and we'll have things to say early in the next year about city state, but nothing to say at this time. You might remember a certain incident with a certain person who we like to make sure that things are good before we talk about them.
So yeah, I am still waiting for another call. I've been call after call after call after call today. Just wanted to take.
You look so uncomfortable.
Yeah. I just want to take this time to, as always, thank our backers for your support. Thank you for your patience. I've heard bits and pieces of this. It's been a long year. It's been overall a very good year. It's been an exciting end of the year. We will have a lot more to say, as I've been saying for the last few months. We'll have a lot more to say by the end of January. So, because I got to cut this short because I'm expecting the next call. Again, I want to thank you all so much for your patience. It will be rewarded. You will, almost all of you, because there will be there's always someone or multiple someones who will not like, what we're going to say, but I guarantee you the vast majority of you are going to love everything we're going to say at the end of January. That being said, again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your patience. Want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and I'll be seeing you when we get back from break the first week in January. So don't be surprised if sometime during next week I end up turning on the cameras again as I come in here to get some stuff done. So, just as I did last Saturday, may end up doing it again. Though this time I'll send a note out for people if they really want to sit and be bored talking to me while I do things I can't show them I'm doing. So, I want to also...
Before we wrap up?
No, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I also want to take this moment to thank the team at City State Entertainment, to thank all the folks in Seattle who are working afar but who are working hard. Obviously, all the folks here in Virginia who have worked so hard to do what we've needed to, to do, not only this year but over previous years. It's been a ride. It's been a fun ride. It's been at times a scary ride. But it's been a great year, and quite frankly, I'm looking forward not only to next year but the years that come afterwards. So, Andrew, thank you very much for the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, but no, thank you very much for your work over this year as well as past years. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be 18 is going to be a lot of fun, and I haven't been able to say that for a while.
Yeah, probably the high point is here at the end of the year of actually getting people, including Sacrix, in and killing each other, and I expect lots of killing in 2018.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And to be honest, it'll probably be me, because as the joke around here is, as well as in our game, is that I actually do suck usually at PvP, depending on what class. Yeah. No, I know how to play. I'm just not that good except with certain classes. And then I'm okay, but I'm never, outstanding. So, again, thank everyone. Thank everyone here at CSE. Thank our backers. Thank the ever-patient Tyler in particular for putting up with Andrew and I. Yeah, see, that got a chuckle over the last year and other years to come, and the past years, this year, and other years to come.
Tim in there. He's been a problem this year as well.
Well, Tim is always a problem.
Oh, that's right. It's a de facto.
It is a de facto. But what the office would be so much less interesting without his comments.
I want to get him streaming some gameplay streams next year.
So, again, I got to get back to the next call. Which is coming in right now. Goodbye. See you next year.
No, more presents for us then.
They wish you happy holidays and happy New Year.
Yep. Let's
all right, let's open some presents.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is really all about.
Do you know who they're from?
I don't know. Do we know who this is from?
No, I actually have no idea who that is from.
So
the scissors right there.
What about Mjolnir?
What about it?
I'm not going to use scissors. I mean, there's no Viking scissor class.
Please don't hit our backers present with a hammer.
I'm sort of interested to see Andrew open a paper bag with a hammer. think this warrants further research.
Alright, so what do we have here? Let's see, is there a card inside? There is no card inside. It is a duck. It is McQuack. So it's a slightly Scottish duck. It's a spotted duck. It's a green duck.
Well, it says duckness, so I'm guessing we're a Loch Ness monster.
Okay, yes, the Duck Ness monster.
Okay.
Oh.
I see.
Well, thank you,
Green,
whoever said us a
yes,
duck.
green is my favorite color. And it's spotted. So
Say
like
hi
it.
in the stream if
Yes,
you want to. If you send us a duckness monster, and we'll thank you personally, or if you don't want to, don't. Whatever.
Or poke me on Discord.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna
Oh,
hold
God.
it close.
all right.
Zacharias wants me to tell you that you look like you're from Men in Black.
Let me see. I'll start this side,
Alright.
and you can get the other side.
There's only one pair of scissors. I'm gonna have to use the hammer.
And there's
Do we know who this one's from?
Yes, we do know this one is from. There should be a letter inside.
Okay.
There we go. Gonna try
Hopefully it's
some
something
fancy
allowed.
camera work.
Okay.
Fancy camera work.
Wow, there's a real letter. Well, does UPS paying us?
So this is from Paladin Brewer and their guild.
Oh wow. Yes,
The name of
Paladin.
the guild should be on there.
Yes, Sword of the Dragon is the guild.
Cool, thank you.
So is quite the letter. I'm going to. Story of Sword of the Dragon. They started in 1995 with multiplayer BattleTech from Kesmai. A bunch of the Kesmai people actually, later were part of the Mythic family through the strange and beautiful world of Virginia game developers. There are dozens of us. Dozens! So, long story. The story of playing Dark Age of Camelot and some really touching words. I'm going to share this with Mark and make sure that he gets to see all this. But I'm not going to read the whole thing here on the stream.
Some of the members are in chat and cheering.
Yes, 22 years, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being around.
Yeah, the fact that you guys are excited about what we're working on, you've put a lot of faith in us, and we're gonna try our damnedest to make you proud. And I hope you enjoy what we've made when it comes out. And
Yeah.
I hope you also enjoy dying a lot.
Yeah, it mentions people who got married through the guild, and some of like the most touching moments for me are like when people like I'll run into people who are 15 years old at a con, or maybe even 16, and they'll like come up and like, I exist because of Dark Age of Camelot. My parents met there and had me, and
Dark Age babies. Oh.
yeah, like it's a trip. It's it's like I'm so deep down in deep down in debugging the server code and things like that, and it's really touching to be reminded of how how much these things can mean to people on the outside who are we just built the world, you guys live in it.
So let's pull out boxes.
Yep. So there is also one of these boxes in Seattle. I think they are.
Oh yes, they sent us something in Seattle.
Yeah.
As well.
So they are. They say that the Seattle people say they are a little bit scared and want to see us open it first. The fearless people, the few, the proud.
Scissors there.
Yes. So.
Paladin Brewer says there's 18 of those boxes in there.
Okay. You want to open
there
yours
should
up
be
too?
enough for everyone in the
All right.
studio.
Yeah, we'll
Whatever it is.
flip it open. 1, 2, 3. Woo!
Whoa!
Very nice, guys. Very cool.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Hold that up real close,
Yeah.
real close.
is that too close?
No, closer, closer. Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's what you left coasters get for being scared. You could have had goblets.
No,
No, they have goblets,
Opening
too.
it till now.
And I mean, this is, this is like, this is metal. This is
That's legit.
this is legit.
Anything that's metal makes Andrew happy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Dragons on the bottom, too.
Yeah, it's got dragons. It's got knotwork.
Oh, that is.
holy crap.
That is amazing.
Yeah. All right,
Very cool, guys.
hold on. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
You gotta be back before the song ends or he turns into a pumpkin.
Oh, he's got plenty of time before the song ends. Oh, I was trying to figure out where he was going. I think I know. Shock and awe. Now you have to come on stream.
Is that my Camelot need? Can we open this? Okay.
Can we,
Let's do it.
let's have the team,
Let's do it.
Are we allowed
I
to do
think-
that on stream?
I think we can do this. Is this, actually, do we have a, this is going to take a corkscrew. But
does
I
it?
think the only way to inaugurate, as long as you're okay, Max,
I'm cool with it.
because you have to drink some with us too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Out of the goblet.
Oh my
That,
gosh. So
yeah.
I got this, a friend of mine found some Camelot mead, which is like this honey mead,
Nice.
oh, thank you,
Ah,
that they sell around here, and they got the last bottle in the store, and I've been saving it for a special occasion.
I think,
This seems
this
pretty-
is,
This seems pretty apropos. All right. Whoa.
Yeah, just slide it out.
what is going on here? There we are. So, seriously, everyone, come get a goblet and come get some Camelot mead.
You want me to keep opening these?
Yeah, let's.
Except for AJ, he's not of drinking age yet.
Oh, he's not?
Oh.
AJ
Wow,
punch.
so,
I like this thing.
actually, it has a piece. This piece comes out.
Well, to wash.
And then
Oh, that's
you
easy.
can
Nice.
wash this piece, and then you don't wreck the beautiful goblets.
Goblets.
All right, we need to move this camera.
Yeah,
A lot more people here.
yeah. Some people are a little shy. There are more people here than are necessarily going to get in front of the camera. Let's see.
Oh look, there's wine in mine.
Do you know how to fix that?
Hey, David, stop this. Right there.
Tuck and roll.
Camera.
Yeah. Let's see. Where'd the scissors go?
Are we allowed to drink from it?
Yeah.
Yes. Nobody's making a toast.
The
The alcohol.
All right.
Yeah,
No,
we'll
we'll,
go in.
we'll do a toast. We will do a toast before we.
Thank you. Here's a thank you very much, Sword of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, camera's right
Oh, thank you.
These are awesome.
Yeah.
Who needs the...
Is that all of them?
Who else needs one? Who else needs some?
Yeah.
Tastes like Camelot.
That's...
Wow.
Mead, anybody? Mead?
Oh,
Do we need to
yes.
take
Yeah.
MJ one
I
of
gotta
these?
have some-
Improve his phone meeting.
I've been saving
Yeah.
this. I keep
Let's-
saying for a special occasion. This is pretty
I
special.
think something like this from all the backers, or
We definitely need you to do us a toast.
Can you put a little
Yeah.
bit in there? I'll give it more.
yeah. Do we want to here?
Let's
pass
get some for MJ.
Yeah.
Where's the?
Here,
Scissors.
Max has that. Dave, give me that.
I got it.
Okay.
First goblet.
Pouring another one.
You're first. That's just get a big collection.
So-
Yes. Good job.
Oh, get JB and AJ over
These
here.
are amazing.
Oh, okay.
They have to come over.
Hey, JB. And AJ.
Yeah, we gotta make this. We want to make this last.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the instructions out.
Instructions. Add beverage.
That beverage.
Raise bottom.
Clean your thing.
Don't put in.
Yeah, clean your
it's like-
thingy. You gotta have a
it's
clean
like,
thingy, man.
Don't drink alcohol later.
Scoot your,
Nobody likes a dirty thing.
scoot this out so we can get some more people in. Those of you who are not feeling, those of you who are not feeling shy, come on in.
Who still needs goblets?
Yeah,
Goblets.
Who still needs goblets?
come on in.
Come on, Dion.
Woohoo! There's room over on that side.
Right next to the tree.
Oh, wait. No, I'll go
Can
stand
circle
with the
way
Charlie
around
Brown
it.
tree.
Yeah, I just gotta figure out how to get around.
Hey Tyler, you in on this?
That might be tricky. Go far.
Tyler!
Long.
Camera.
Come here, Michelle.
Tyler doesn't care. Tyler's
Sandra.
putting the news
The
letter
rare
today.
elusive Sandra. Yeah.
Rare
sighting.
Thank you, sir. Oh, Jesus.
I will do anything for me. So.
Anybody else need a...
I would
It's
do
on camera now.
anything for me.
All right, I won't be able to see what you guys are saying because I'm going to stand on this side of the camera.
Okay. So,
That smells good.
you know,
Yeah, come on. Come on, Dave.
so,
Oops, sorry.
want to make
You
two
can take
toasts
it.
here. First of all, you know, to Paladin Brewer, to Sword of the Dragon, make sure I say it right.
You got it.
And you know, to all the other backers and everyone who has supported us. You know, it is such a rare and special occasion to an opportunity to make a game that is as much buy-in for the fans as this is, and this has been the opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm looking forward to you know, murdering all of you next year. So
In the game.
yes, thank you.
To murder.
To
murder.
Meow
meow.
Oh, we didn't touch. We didn't touch cups.
There we go.
Let's not count it.
Thank you very much. We will see you later.
the
Well, there's a
second
second
toast.
one.
Oh, there's a
So
second toast.
the second toast
Oh, nice.
is to the man who is currently on a very important phone call, but is the one who put all of this together and has made all of this possible for all of us here and for all of you out there. You know, the man who does not know the meaning of quit, the man who
Doesn't sleep.
yeah, the man who created Dark Age of Camelot and Camelot Unchained, to Mark fucking Jacobs.
To Mark
fucking Jacobs!
Salute.
And there's some Camelot mead for him too.
No, he can't drink it.
All right. Well, we will see you later. Keep an eye out for the newsletter going out. Keep an eye out for
Somebody help
the
Dave get out.
update getting out. And we will see you in the new year, January 2nd, because we are out of the office next week. Happy holidays.
Out of the office, but not out of your hearts.
Exactly.
You're in my
Our
heart.
swords will stay there always.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you later.